Welcome to the Eat Better, Move Better, Live Better podcast presented by Flourish with Tracy, where we'll dive into the realms of holistic wellness, plant-based nutrition, yoga, and self-care to help you live your best life. Tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our special segments. Meditation Monday, start your week with mindfulness. Wellness Wednesdays, get the midweek boost you need. Sadhana Saturdays, dedicate weekends to personal growth. Join us as we explore and discuss all things to eat better, move better, and live better. Welcome to Sadhana Saturday. Today we'd like to discuss facing what we resist. It's a practice of honesty, compassion, and courage. It's called shadow work. So before we begin, wherever you are, just take a moment to notice your breath. There's nothing you need to fix, change, or improve. Just simply arrive. Allow your breath to soften. Shadow work is not about becoming someone new. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you may have pushed away, hidden, or judged. It's a gentle and grounded approach. You are always in choice. You have the option to fully participate or to simply listen. And allow your nervous system to set the pace. So what is the shadow? The concept of shadow comes from deep psychology. It's echoed in spiritual traditions, yoga philosophy, and inner alchemy teachings. A shadow is a collection of traits, emotions, impulses, memories, and beliefs that we have learned, either consciously or unconsciously. And we may have learned that they were not safe, acceptable, or lovable. The shadow, however, is not bad. It contains unexpressed anger or grief. It contain fear or shame or guilt. It may contain needs that were not met, something that's been unrequited. It may contain desires we learned to suppress. It may contain a creative power or sensitivity that felt unsafe. But in addition to this, the shadow also holds lost vitality, intuition, and personal power. Shadow can be seen as latent impressions stored within our subtle body. It just means that these are the things that remain unseen in the light of awareness. And what we do not consciously hold will hold us unconsciously. So we recreate shadows, and we may resist them. And the reason we do it is because we may have an area where we're broken. And so we create them because we're adaptive. As children, we learned very quickly what earned love, what created safety, what led to rejection or punishment. And if anger led to disconnection, then we buried anger. If sensitivity led to ridicule, then we armored the heart. If joy felt unsafe, we dimmed the light. Resistance forms as a protective mechanism. And we resist because the nervous system associates certain feelings with danger. The ego wants coherence and control, and the psyche fears being overwhelmed. Resistance is not failure, it's information. It's what we resist is often what once hurt us, what once mattered deeply. So we keep these things in the shadow. And so how does the shadow shows up in our life? It can show up directly. However, most of the time it will appear and announce itself indirectly through triggers, which are disproportionate emotional reactions to something, a projection, judging in others what we cannot accept in ourselves, or accepting a judgment from others that may not be true. Shadows appear in patterns, repeating relationships, conflicts, or setbacks. Through somatic signals, tension, fatigue, tightness, numbness, or bypassing our spirituality using positivity or spirituality to avoid discomfort. If it's loud and it's charged or repetitive, then it's likely asking to be witnessed. Shadow work is not about eliminating these experiences. It's about listening to what they are communicating. So work is to shed your light on the shadow. Because if you don't shed your light, do the work to address your shadows, it will not disappear. Instead, it will go underground. And this may result in consequences of always reacting emotionally, chronic stress or burnout, feeling inauthentic or fragmented, acts of self-sabotage, disconnecting with your inner voice, your wisdom, your intuition, and your vitality. Avoidance often requires enormous energy. And if you instead do the work, do your shadow work, shed the light on what is uncomfortable, what you may be resisting, you will find liberation. When you approach your shadows, the gift of this shadow work will be greater emotional resilience, increased self-trust, authentic boundaries, deeper intimacy with yourself and others, and you get to reclaim your power and your creativity. And you will remember who you are. You will remember your wholeness. Nothing within you is an accident. There are times to be cautious with shadow work. Shadow work is very powerful, but it's not always meant to be done alone or without support. Awareness includes knowing when to pause and when to seek guidance. It is always wise to approach shadow work very gently if you notice, or if you have a history of unresolved trauma or post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD. If you are experiencing any form of dissociation, numbness, or a feeling of not being in your body, if you're experiencing panic, overwhelm, or loss of emotional regulation, just by asking yourself a few personal inner questions or inquiry. If you are experiencing intrusive memories or flashbacks, if you have a strong self-judgment, spirals of feeling shameful, or compulsive rumination, seek guidance. Use the assistance of support, as shadow work should not feel re-traumatizing, triggering, destabilizing, or flooding. If you feel unsafe, that is information, not failure. It is at this time to seek additional support rather than a solitary practice. If this emotional material feels too intense or to hold alone, when you feel stuck in repetitive patterns despite your awareness, or you feel increased anxiety, depression, or isolation, and the old wounds are surfacing faster than your capacity to integrate or address them, this is when you seek guidance. Support helps create a regulated space to allow the shadow material to be integrated and addressed rather than repressed or overwhelmed. So who can support your shadow work? It can be safely supported by trained professionals and guides, including trauma-informed therapists or counselors, especially those trained in depth-oriented approaches or somatic health, psychodynamic therapists who are familiar with shadow integration, psychotherapists, experienced spiritual directors or meditation teachers with a background of trauma awareness, holistic healers or certified coaches who work explicitly within the scope of this area and are able to refer you ethically if your shadow work is outside of their scope. So always look for an ideal practitioner or support would emphasize safety of your nervous system. It's not rushing an emotional release or some sort of catharsis. They encourage choice, pacing, and consent, and respect both the psychological and spiritual dimensions of shadow work. It's not about pushing through, it's about resourcing wisely. So I'd like to now invite you to a short shadow inquiry meditation. This is not about reliving trauma or forcing insight. This is a practice of witnessing with kindness. And if at any point you feel triggered or overwhelmed, return to your breath, open your eyes. Grounding is part of the practice. This does not replace any work by a trauma-informed specialist. And if you feel you need more in-depth support, please reach out to the trained guides as mentioned previously. So please begin by finding a comfortable seated or reclined position, allowing your spine to be supported. Allow your hands to rest easily, your fingers limp. Soften your gaze or close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your breath. No need to change it. Just simply observe your inhale and exhale. Bring your attention to the places where your body is supported. Notice that you're being held without any effort. Now bring to mind a recent moment of emotional charge. Not the most intense experience, just something that mildly activated you. Now notice what arises in your body as you recall this moment. Where do you feel it? What do you feel? Tightness? Warmth? Contraction? Movement? stay with the sensation rather than the story. Quietly ask yourself, what am I resisting, feeling, or acknowledging right now? Do not search for an answer. Just allow the response to emerge. It may appear as a word, an image, a memory, or a body sensation. And whatever arises, see if you are able to meet it with curiosity rather than judgment, and ask, when did I first learn it wasn't safe to feel or express this? Again, no forcing, just trust what arises. If an emotion arises, allow it to space, then soften. You're not being consumed, you're just noticing and witnessing. And gently place your hand on your heart or belly. And you can gently or quietly express or acknowledge, I notice. And once you acknowledge, notice what shifts. Ask yourself, what does this part of me need? Perhaps it needs rest, validation, protection, expression, or just simply permission. Offer that need inwardly or symbolically. Now imagine gently welcoming this part back into your awareness. Not to fix it, but to include it. Release your hands, take a deep breath in, and release it. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Gently open your eyes, taking a second deep breath in and out. Noticing and feeling the room around you and the support beneath you. Take a cleansing third deep breath in and out. This was a practice of integration, moving something from the darkness of the shadow into your light, shining a light of awareness. And when you notice it and you bring it forth, you bring it out of the shadows into the light, you can reflect and journal what emerged for you. You can track any emotional triggers without judgment. You can name feelings that you felt in real time. And you can practice self-compassion instead of correction. And ask yourself, what is this moment asking me to acknowledge rather than avoid? It's facing what we resist is an act of bravery. Shadow work is not about darkness, it's about honesty. And as awareness expands, the shadow naturally softens and becomes bright, and you can see it. You're not here to be perfect, you're here to become whole. Give yourself a moment of gratitude for your willingness to explore. Take a moment to notice how you feel right now. Not to evaluate or analyze, but simply to sense. Whatever is present is welcome. And as you return to the rest of your day or evening, remember that shadow work does not require constant excavation. Sometimes the most powerful integration happens through rest, simplicity, and just kindness towards yourself. So if something tender or meaningful has surfaced, consider honoring it gently, perhaps through journaling, walking in nature, mindful movement, or quiet reflection. There's no urgency. integration unfolds in its own time. And if you choose to dedicate this practice, simply aloud or silently, offer it to your own healing, for clearer relationships, or for the collective well-being. In this way, your personal work becomes sacred work. May what you have practiced today be held with compassion. May what you've reclaimed be integrated with care, and may this awareness continue to illuminate, not to judge, but to include. The practice continues moment by moment in how you meet yourself as you shine your light. If you'd like to explore personal shadow work on a more in-depth basis, let's chat about it. Please book a free discovery call at flourishwithtracy.com. I am an EAS, Empower, Achieve, Succeed certified coach to guide you through a 10-week process of shining the light on what you may have in the dark, so that your true self can fully integrate, where your practice can continue moment by moment, how you can meet yourself with illumination. Thank you for sharing time and space today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's insights help you on a personal journey towards a healthier, happier life. Don't forget to join every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for more self-care and holistic wellness tips. Before you go, make sure to comment, click the bell, like, and subscribe buttons for upcoming episode notifications. Be sure to always consult a medical professional before making any major changes regarding your health, diet, or routine. In the meanwhile, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember, every step you take is one step closer to a better you. Until next time, keep flourishing, and as always, may all be well.